Hi, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly installment of the Top 10. These are the hottest selling cards in Magic the Gathering this week, and the sales have exploded in multiple formats. And this is a week of sales you are really not going to want to miss out on. So stay tuned. We're about to get the party started, and of course, you're all invited. Welcome back to the weekly installment. I am your host, MTG Moxman, and we got some amazing cards to look at. It's like Revenge of the Dead in this case because these are sales we haven't seen in a long time, and we have a lot of cards coming back strong as players jump into multiple formats. A reminder, if you're shopping for any of these cards today, don't forget to use my TCG Player affiliate link. It's found in the description of all my videos. Let's start out at number 10. Now, we did talk about this in a card spike video this week. This is Seasoned Pyromancer. Now, this card comes in with 1,024 sales, and that's $10,618.88 of total sales action. Now, depending on which version you're looking for, and of course, I'm only talking about the original Modern Horizons version. There are other versions that would have boosted these to around the 3,000 sales mark if I included all the different reprints, but in this case, I'm not going to. We're going with the cheapest available version just to show you what's going on. And although there's still tons of copies out there, you can see here that it is starting to spike up. We are starting to see a trend, and that trend lets you know what's happening, lets you know what players are building with in Modern, and the Pyromancer definitely is fitting the bill in Boros decks, and it's starting to get real attention. So if you're a player who owns these cards, you might be coming out a little bit on top. Now, our number 9 card is Doubling Seasons, the Foundations version. $30.12 is your average price, but 1,246 sales still ended up being $37,000 of total sales action. And this card is starting to see a lot more play than I would have expected in Standard, and of course, it's still in Modern as well. Now, in Standard decks, though, let's be honest, you wouldn't expect somebody to be able to get this 5 casting cost thing out, but mid-range decks can do a lot with this card. When we take a look at the overall price, though, before we talk about what this card is doing, you see the price here is actually trending down a bit, even though sales are ramping up. If this thing goes below the $30 mark, well, they're going to have a lot of interested people picking up additional copies for Commander play, as well as Modern and, of course, Standard. So keep an eye on it, because right now, this is the part we're getting to. The Crackling Wit, using this with Storm. These Storm decks that are being created right now in Standard, maybe in their infancy, but they are going to cause problems. Pay attention, guys. Now, our next card. This is the Banner of Kinship. Now, I'm not surprised to see this card here again. It kind of popped off the list. The 1,360 sales. It's a sub $10 card. It gets a lot of play right now on Arena, and it makes sense that players are going to want to build these decks in real life. And when you have players building in Standard, buying 4 copies, using it in Modern for 4 copies, a lot of copies can disappear from this market very quickly. So it's something to keep an eye on. I don't expect this price to shift much, either positive or negative. It may drop $1 over the next few months, and that's only if we don't see this with continued gameplay, which I think is unlikely at this time. I do see a lot of this on Arena, and I've only seen it a few times so far with the Patchwork Banner, when we see this, of course, in Friday Night Magics and stuff, or I'm playing casual with friends. But either way, it's a good card to keep around. It's a good card for players to own multiple copies of, and because it's a sub $10 card, you can see where players are putting their money. There's a lot of craziness going on with tokens, and these fit the bill. Our next card is a Return of the Dead. This is a card we haven't seen for a while. Innkeeper's Talent from Bloomborough jumps back into my top 10 this week. It had 1,620 sales. That's $27,000 of sales action. This card's averaging $17, but that's still a far cry from the $30+ it did command earlier on, but it also avoids the lows of a couple of dollars. So what's going on with this card? Its low casting cost makes it very playable inside of Standard, Modern, as well as Vintage Legacy decks when you're playing just for some janky fun. That means a lot of players are out there looking for cards like this, but the versatility of the card means that the price is not really dropping that much. It's kind of doing these small bell curves where it goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, but its continued playability means that players are going to keep playing with it, they're going to keep enjoying it, and they're not going to sell it back to a store. They're not going to trade these things in, which means the price is likely going to stay somewhere around this level for the foreseeable future, unless something else better comes along that does more, which is unlikely. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next card. This is Modern Horizons 3. We're jumping in with Urza's Cave. Now, something crazy is kind of going on here. I know this card is in multiple commander decks, even casual ones for fun, around the kitchen table magic. This card is in a lot of places already, but it had a sudden surge of sales, 1,725 sales out of the blue. That's $5,382. This card used to be over $10. It's at a song of a price right now. You can get this thing for around the $3 to $3.50 mark. And we can't forget that Wizards of the Coast did something here. They made this card a cave. They also made it Urza's cave, so it interacts with Urza's lands. That's like the Urza's workshop and all those crazy things. They are building out a synergy strategy over the long time. So cards like this shouldn't be ignored. You should have bought a couple when they were only a few dollars, and you should probably sit on them for a while because they are played in so many places. Oh, here we go for our next card, guys. This is the Mossborn Hydra, the bane of my existence when the game goes late. This card comes in at number 5 with 1,980 sales. That's $7,979 of sales action. This is huge for a card like this to make it multiple weeks. It's under the $5 mark, but it has so much playability and players can get this thing jacked. Don't underestimate the Hydra. Its 3 casting cost makes it a perfectly playable mid-range creature and late game just finale beast. Now, it's been trending down a bit in the price, as you can see, but because of what this can do and how it works with landfall means you're starting to see this get picked up in other places. It's finding homes in commander landfall decks, and it has a few people also buying reserve list card Thawing Glaciers, something to keep in mind in case you guys didn't see that already. Don't ignore cards like this. It may only be a rare, but it does a lot. Number 4 this week is Rogue's Passage, again from Foundations. It's an average price of 39 cents, but as it turns out, making creatures that can't be blocked is actually a game-winning strategy. Imagine that. 3,512 sales is only $1,300 of sales action, but this is a game-winning combination card that can fit into any deck because it's colorless and activates with colorless. You can't ignore cards like this. A lot of players have it on the sideboard, but they also have copies inside their decks, and it's not just standard. Okay, you're going to see this in commander decks as well, and there's, of course, a multitude of reprints on this card, but this playability factor is something that causes these sales to get jacked up. And thank goodness the price doesn't follow along yet. But if there's so much pressure on the card, you're thankful that this one has as many reprints as it does because it avoids the attraction of jumping up in price. And so does our next card. Let's take a look at this. We're coming in here and taking a look, and we're going to see its Meltdown, Retro Frame, Modern Horizons 3. Now, this card has not been affected yet, but the original version has, okay? The Urza's copy has had a little bit of a price spike. People going for the original copies right now, and now everyone else is clamoring to get their hands on this one, and it's just trending up a little bit now. 3,640 sales is $1,800 of sales action. Will this card go over $1? That seems likely. It's something players need to be aware of because it's not likely going to stay at this price more than another week or two before it really does start to move. You can see it's just starting to trend off the baseline on MTG stocks, but at the same time, players are buying this in a multitude to deal with all the moxes that we have being played right now in Modern. This is something that allows you to deal with it. Even if it's a sideboard, players are buying them hand over foot. Keep it in mind, guys, this is a bad boy comedy to own. Now for our next card, again, not really a surprise. This is Boltwave from Foundations. It's being played in red burn inside Standard. You're also seeing this inside Modern decks. Boltwave is a 3 damage to each opponent, which means it also gets played in Commander. So it's continually getting pressure and being bought time and time again. 3,850 sales. That's $14,000 plus of total sales action this week. I really thought this uncommon was going to calm down, but apparently players actually recognize the value, the synergy, and what this brings to the table being an actual superior card to others of its kind. So that's why. That single casting cost just makes it juicy inside of a commander game. And finding ways to replicate it and storm this stuff out, just insane, okay? So Boltwave is a card you're going to want to keep an eye on, guys. Don't ignore it, because this card, it may end up going over the $5 mark. If you haven't bought them yet, you might want to. Now let's jump to the number 1 card this week. We are taking a look at Patchwork Banner. This Bloomburrow card continues to see constant play in casual decks. It's being worked into tons of decks in Arena, and I've only seen it about maybe 20% of the time in standard decks on a Friday night, but that's beside the point. Players are still building and constructing with it. It's still putting pressure on the card. Now, it has lost value right now. You can see the price has been dipping down, and there are good reasons for that. The Walmart reprinting tins that came out with the promo cards being the Patchwork Banner took a lot of pressure off of the price of this card. It allowed it to dip about 20%. Now, the real question is it going to stay with the pressure off of it? Or if it gets into a few big tournaments and has some wins, are we going to see the pressure turned back on? There's a lot of things going on with uncommons right now, and the track printing of these cards is making them very expensive to buy. These aren't the 50-cent uncommons we saw a couple of years ago. And those tins, at least they took the pressure off momentarily, if not permanently. So enjoy it, guys. Here at the end of the video, we have a few key takeaway points I think need to be we need to bring them home. Number one, the idea of organized gameplay. When we have cards banned, this proves the point that players are going to find something to fill in that gap. Amped Raptor is gone, in comes the Pyromancer. Decks that are now dead because of a banning give rise to decks that weren't really working well, and now they need to be built again, reconstructed. And it shows you that we have a lot of organized play right now, or people wouldn't be buying these cards. There are players who want to step into that echelon of competitive play and say, I won. I did it. I beat these people. I made it to the semifinals. I made it to the finals. Hey, I'm the champion of my local store. I'm moving up the ranks. This is a fascinating game to play. We have genuinely high sales for a January start. We have players interested in what cards they're going to build with, and we have pressure points on cards that shows you that players believe at least at some kind of value point for these cards, or they wouldn't be selling in the first place. The buyers and sellers are meeting in a pretty organized way, because although we have some of these prices shooting up, it's not happening on a lot of the sales we're witnessing in today's video. We are seeing players go back now to build and finish competitive decks now that prices have come down and some of the pressure has come off. And in some cases, we are hitting these cards before the pressure is applied, like we're starting to see with Meltdown, like what's happening with the Pyromancer. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you take a few minutes. Write some comments down about some of these experiences you've seen with these shocking, crazy sales at the local level, where you've been if you're a seller on TCG Player. Whether you're one of the people out there who goes to buy a card only to find out it's been bought and taken away from you before you even got there. I would love to share some of these experiences here on the channel. Let people get involved in the comments so we can all kind of see what's going on in the larger scope of things. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. Thanks for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And of course, tomorrow is the reserve list top 10 video. And of course, our live stream, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you guys there. Have a great day, everyone. Play around to Magic, and I'll see you guys soon. Well, here we are again. Fancy meeting you here at the end of the video. You look at all these names? You see all these amazing people that support the channel? I want to thank each and every one of them. I want to thank them every single day, individually if I could, because they're the ones who make sure this content happens. That support allows for daily uploaded content onto YouTube. And thanks again to my patrons and my YouTube membership members. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. You have showed up at Party Central. The coffee is warm, not hot anymore, but it's warm. We're talking good things. Did you see the sales? Did you actually pay attention to those? Were you just listening, or did you actually look? Take a look. Go back. I'll wait. Urza's Cave. Innkeeper's Talent. Pyromancer makes sense to me. Patchwork Banner, number 1. We have some funky sales going on. There is some crazy stuff going on. I don't think most of those sales concern me except for 1 or 2. Makes me think somebody knows something that I don't know. I got the feelers out. I'm trying to find this stuff out for you. But I'm not having a lot of success. Urza's Cave is played in a lot of decks because of its unique ability to bring back cards. Now, what does that mean going forward, though? What does that mean for players who want to abuse this card more or know that there's a better kind of cave system cards coming along? We have a whole year of 2025 coming, and some of these cards are going to spike up. Wizards' plans will unfold. And I think a few people are taking advantage of some of these low prices to really come out ahead just in case something spikes. Either way, interesting stuff. Fascinating sales. I'm glad I grabbed some of these for the channel already. I already have some of these in stock. But some of these sales are a little bit and others I'm like, ooh, Innkeeper's Talent. All right. All right. Threw me off there. Threw me off. We're having a Duskmorn, right? Anyway, thanks again, guys. We'll see you soon. Shop Smart, Shop S Smart, Boomstick Edition, 1993. S Smart's top of the line. Cobalt Blue Steel, and a hair trigger.